Yeah, we can all show up in captors masks and full body armor, or they could just fix the problem and we can enjoy the game in peace.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming back to another recording of Foul Ball Safety Now Talks. I'm with Brianna Ludwig. I'm Jordan Skop. We're in the middle of December, towards the end of the year, but we have some news to share before we bring on our guest for today. But before we go to the news, I just want to give a little recap of how Foul Ball Safety Now came about. It started back in 2019. Just being a baseball fan, seeing something disturbing on morning news, I responded. 6.5 years later, I've been making a lot of news content, working with an investigative reporter by the name of Brendan, working with Brianna Ludwig now for over a year, doing investigations, communications, research. Foul Ball Safety Now has discovered so much which people can find on their own at foulballsafetynow.com. Unfortunately, there's still a lot of work to be done because we're not having a discussion, which is the ultimate goal at Foul Ball Safety Now. It's about bringing this issue that most baseball fans have no idea about that still persists today. People are finding out news all the time when discovering Foul Ball Safety Now about things they had no idea was part of their fan and family experience. News to speak of today, because every week at Foul Ball Safety Now, my goal is to present news. And working with Brendan and Brianna, I'm guaranteed to give people more things to think about. Just recently, since the World Series, when Shohei Ohtani hit a ball down the lines, he thought for a moment he had a cringeworthy experience. Humanity kind of came into his body for a split second, when he thought he may have injured a fan or a security guard or anyone who's a person. He had this cringeworthy moment that the world saw on TV, but nobody reacted like people do react when they see things on social media. They usually have a lot to say. For some reason, I don't know why, we didn't get the reaction we were looking for. A few weeks earlier, there was a bat that flew over the netting, a broken bat that flew over the netting in Seattle. When people saw it, when America saw this broken bat coming into the seats like a boomerang that could pierce your heart, nobody made any comments to that either. I was really surprised that nobody had done any contribution on social media to this issue, because the announcer, when the bat upon the replay, when they showed the bat coming over the netting, you heard the announcer saying, "Yikes, look out." Even with the announcer telling America that a broken bat is coming at you like a spear, when at least that's what the visual showed, you hear an announcer saying, "Yikes, look out." Nobody made any comments to that. It tells me that this seems to all be blending in with the excitement of the atmosphere of the game, and that's not good. We have to stop and talk about the incident itself. And we're learning so many injuries are being self-reported still in 2025, which you can see at Foul Ball Safety Now. And just in the last 2 weeks, I'm connecting with college baseball players similar to the baseball players that play their games at Queens College, who are vocal and telling me they are worried that one of their balls may go over the side or hit a child. Because if people Google Earth Queens College, you'll see a baseball field right next to an elementary school where these student athletes are, yes, in fear of hitting one of their practice balls or game balls at a child. And I've written 4 letters to Queens College and copied the NCAA on the 4th letter, and we did get a newspaper article in the Queens College newspaper just a few weeks ago. And it's not just Queens College where balls are flying outside, it could be a lot of other colleges, and now I'm talking to student athletes who may or may not go on the record with me, but may be able to start these conferences with their players and their coaches to express their anxiety about their current practice and playing situation. Why should young adults who are 20 years old not be able to play the game free and clear? Balls do go over the sides. In Modesto, California, where they're the affiliate of the Seattle Mariners, we got a call from an attorney's office in the spring where a woman was standing outside the ballpark, similar to where the elementary school kids may be at Queens College, just having a good old time, living and breathing, not a carefree in the world, which we should all experience when we're just standing and minding our P's and Q's. Why should we be worried about getting hit in the head with a baseball? But unfortunately, we do. We do have to worry about that because it's real. So it could be in many other places. Please see the Foul Ball Safety Now website. Check out the Queens College investigation. Check out the Unknown Modesto link. Brianna, how are you today?
Hi, Jordan. I'm doing good. Excited to have this important conversation about safety. So, without further ado, I'd love to bring on our guest today, Raphael. He is a security guard. Welcome, Raphael.
Thank you. I'm glad to be with you.
Hey, Raphael. Thank you so much. We're excited for your thoughtful inquiry about foul ball safety now. For those tuning in for the first time, the tables are turned. Our guests are prepared with questions for us. And we're just chill, taking in the questions and having a conversation. So, Raphael, whenever you're ready, start us off.
Well, one thing that I noticed is a lot of fans are talking about approach that the Japanese they took to the problem. Fans getting hit by foul ball, and then some of them will bring up the idea that a net raising the protection to 200 level will solve the problem. Some of them will say, no, actually, it should be raised to 300 level. So now my question is, should the protection be raised to 300 level or should it stay at 200 level? Because according to certain fans, when somebody's sitting in the back row, you don't have to worry about getting hit by foul ball so much. Instead, you should worry about reaction time because you far away, you have enough time to see the ball coming and react to it. So we don't need to raise the protection to 300 level because you're far away. So now my question is, you guys are the experts. Should the protection be at 200 level or should it be raised to 300 level? Or should the far away fans worry about reaction time?
You know, you brought up a good example of how the Japanese leagues run their baseball, where there's more of a conversation around the issue on how far, how wide the nets need to be, how high, far, and wide the nets should be in Japan. The culture in Japan addresses this by actually having human beings, team attendants working within the aisles. When balls come over the netting, there's actually whistles being blown, warning people that the ball is about to come down and be careful or put your hands over your head. More of a social organization that they're going to tell you in Japan that the reality is there's no free ride at the game. They even have animation on the scoreboard. Some people may be distasteful. They show fans taken away by an ambulance after getting hit by a foul ball. So imagine a scoreboard with this animation, Raphael, showing a fan getting hit by a ball and then leaving in an ambulance. They just want to tell people on almost every turn that this potentially can happen to you if you're not aware. That's a good start for a back and forth conversation because fans are probably speaking about the issue. They're probably coming to the games in advance knowing that little Timmy or little Susie are going to be sitting with a helmet of some kind. Again, it's not foolproof in Japan. I give them credit because they speak about the issue. They even have something called the Excite seats, Raphael, where they allow people to sit in the hottest zones, like right past the dugouts, with they give you a helmet and a glove to sit there. But I still see little kids, they're still not wearing face masks. A helmet's good, but it could still hit you in the face. Helmet actually was, used for the coaches in professional baseball in America after a coach was struck, Mike Kuba, and died. We learned that he actually was hit in the neck, and even though the helmet's an upgrade, the coaches, as far as I see, are still not wearing neck guards, but at least there's been some proactive movement on America's professional level. To address your question about how high, 200 or 300. What I think we need, Raphael, that nobody would disagree with is people beyond you, Brianna, and I learning about all the information we have at Foul Ball Safety Now. That may be the agencies that advocate for children. That may be the agencies that advocate for the teenagers that are selling hot dogs at their first working job, like OSHA. They're supposed to be looking out for the benefit of the employee. So I have an expression, Raphael. It's above my pay grade, maybe your pay grade or Brianna's pay grade, to determine exactly how high, far, and wide the net should be. We invite those agencies to learn about our 6 years worth of research and have a meeting with us so we could breathe life into their agency. And they could then come in and form something like an independent netting council, which would discuss the interior and the exterior, what happens inside the ballpark and happens outside the ballpark. So I don't know if that fully addresses some of your question.
No, it did. It did. Actually, you're right. Two heads is better than one. If they come and join you, then probably we're definitely gonna be able to get down to the best approach as far as how to solve that major problem. No, you
Cool.
definitely answered the question.
Cool.
They need to come down to the table, and then that'll make such a big difference.
We invite people, certainly the fans, that and you're part of these recordings with us. We're meeting influential baseball fans who sometimes bring their qualified professional skills to these interviews with us as well. So beyond these calls, we certainly hope they'll have an influence with their work or their agencies. People are finding out for the first time, Raphael, a lot about what they may have not known about. And they could be parents or they could be employees of an agency. And that's what these discussions can bring. It's a conversation. We want to start this conversation. We invite people to learn about all about research. And we believe from that, everything is possible.
Another major argument is that one fan came up with a lot of confidence now. So much confidence in what he's saying.
Okay.
And then the fan came up, you know what? All we need is a real catcher's mask. Just wear catcher's mask, and it doesn't matter where you're sitting at. Do you agree with that?
I do not know. But if you ask Brianna what would be the appropriate attire for children under a certain age, she'll probably have a lot to say. She may also have the approach of why are we coming up with the attire to come to the games? Why is that even necessary? Why can't we just be reassured to just come to the bloody game and not be bloodied? It's all about telling us, reassuring us. And I don't think baseball has ever been able to do that. And we're still in 2025, and I categorize us as doing business, baseball doing business as usual in the dark ages, because the fans are not informed, properly informed about what the real risks are. We have enough exhibits on the website, Raphael, that people can almost go down their own memory lane and figure out for themselves where they were sitting and if they were exposed, and how often these line drives at 100 miles an hour may have come towards their head. Maybe not the day they were there, but maybe the day before or the day after somebody got blinded by a baseball. All of this is information that 100 million baseball fans who may never, ever, ever gave it a second thought are now scratching their head thinking like, why were we there all these times when this was the reality? Because we just were presented with a website called Foul Ball Safety Now. People can see Exhibit A1, Raphael, which demonstrates just how many foul balls come into certain sections from 2019. That report was published. And Brendan and I incorporated our own research in 2025 into that report. People can see for themselves. There are hundreds of thousands of foul balls per year, not even in MLB, but in the 169 other ballparks we've been following. There's 5 times as many more games in 9-inning games in professional baseball than there are in Major League Baseball every single year.
A catcher's mask is a nice thought, especially to try and prevent head injuries, but you really can be hit on any part of your body. I mean, we've seen all different kinds of black and blue bruises on thighs and ankles and arms in a lot of the self-reported injuries that we've been seeing this season. We have a report on the website. It's incidents reported so far 2025. There also was an incident, not in 2025, but an incident where a coach's leg was broken by a line drive. So I don't really think you want to get hit anywhere. The head and the neck are definitely more serious areas. Yeah, we can all show up in catcher's masks and full body armor, or they could just fix the problem and we can enjoy the game in peace.
I was watching football last Saturday, and I forgot what team was playing. Wasn't it the Bears versus the Browns? But that doesn't matter. The player got injured, got hit so hard, and then the reporter went like, "Ouch!" Right after that, the camera went off. Just like you said, television, the media, they tend to brush off the injuries. They don't like to show. They don't like to talk about. And you're right, and you're doing a good job by reporting and bringing it was attention. I actually learned a lot from the website and all of this. It's more serious than people assume. People think it is. That's something that a good round the table discussion should bring a lot of solutions, and
Right.
maybe we can get to the bottom of it, and maybe we can get to a real solution if there's a solution. But
Oh,
around the
I
table, it's
believe
definitely
I believe once you have a conversation, anything is gonna come out and solutions will be presented. That's what happens when you have these town halls. You know how that goes, Raphael. Everyone's got an idea, and that's what we wanna hear, because it's the 3 of us talking. Think about what some of these people from the science community would say. Think about what some of these people from the math community would say. They would say, "Give us a ballpark and we'll fix the issue." And it's one ballpark at a time. I just wanted to circle back to one injury, which was a very serious one. Excuse me, the umpire from 2019, I'm sorry, from 2025, we call it Exhibit A2. I'm not sure, Raphael, if you had a chance to see that. That was the umpire that was 90 feet from home plate, and then he was another 10 feet behind. behind the first base bag, 100 feet away. Here's an umpire doing his job, staring without blinking, and he hasn't been back to work. He got hit right in the middle of the head. And I don't know his long-term prognosis, but he didn't work for the rest of the year. This was back in the
Oh,
spring. So clearly the umpires are exposed, and we know that in 2025. Imagine the 30 to 40 cities that still have no netting past the end of dugout in some of these professional leagues. Those people are 100 feet away, a little to the right past the first base dugout, a little bit to the left past the third base dugout. How are they going to get out of the way? And that video from 2019, which we also call Exhibit A, the ESPN video, which demonstrates no human being, let alone children, should ever be sitting in those exposed areas. And we're in 2025, and there's still 30 to 40 cities where this is allowed to be business as usual.
I agree with you. I agree. They tend to they don't like to dive into the injuries too much. They just mention it and just move on to the next topic. Then you bringing more ideas to the table is definitely ideal. I agree with that.
And that's what we want to do.
I
Mhm.
understand you have a website and everything, but how difficult has it been for you to get the responsible parties, like people who should be concerned but that are not? How easy or difficult has it been for you to bring them to a discussion table?
Yep. So the establishment, whether it's the Major League Baseball teams or the Major League Baseball players' unions, or anyone who's associated and gets a paycheck through baseball, they've been more guarded. It's the college baseball players who are trying and searching for what's right and wrong. They're more unfiltered. They're more trying to play the game the right way because 20-year-old athletes from Queens College, they just don't want to hit people and hurt people, and they're straight up, and they just tell that to me. And I'm like, yeah, who the hell wants to play baseball and hurt somebody? Everyone wants to play the game they love, free and clear. And speaking to these young student athletes, and trying to get conversations with those guys may be easier than doing it with the 30-year-old guys. Because unfortunately, Raphael, they've thrown in the towel, if you know what I mean. They've been doing it for so long. Near misses and direct hits are part of their working landscape, unfortunately. And what are you gonna do? They're like, "Oh, well, you know what? It's better late than never, Raphael." You know what I'm saying? Let's make the culture better for the younger athlete, and let's finally make it a safe place so Brianna and her friends can clearly take their kids. But
Right.
Brianna, who's been at this for a while, she can't do that right now, whether she's in the 100s or the 200s or the 300s, until she gets a gesture, a firm, confident gesture from the professional teams that are hosting these games, that are promoting these games to kids, to say, you can come to the game. And, the only chance your kid is going to hurt himself is if he slips and falls, and that's part of life. So we all slip and fall. Nobody wants to slip and fall. Baseball has a first aid team that comes in to assure that if somebody sprains their ankle or gets hit by a baseball, there'll be somebody there to look at them. They will have that. But we want prevention. We want parents and families to be reassured that coming to the game is a free and clear family experience. Unfortunately, it never was, Raphael. And unfortunately, that's mud on their face for allowing this business as usual to continue, allowing for all of us to discover on our own in 2025, Raphael, about self reported injuries from human beings. And those human beings could have been 10, 4, 2, 80. Doesn't make a difference. Human beings are getting exposed and they're getting hurt and they're saying things like they're never coming to another game again because baseball hasn't had this conversation with us. And it will come out that maybe people will see a mud on their face, and people will then determine just how much mud on their face is there. My job, Raphael, is to bring the epiphany of awareness to the many fans that had no idea that this was the way they conducted business and that their families may have been subjected to the worst. And they just never, unfortunately, never heard about it, fortunately, never got hurt. But it doesn't mean that the day before or the day after, somebody may have been blinded in that same seat. The families never knew. Linda Goldblum, who died at the Dodger game 2018, a couple of days after she got hit, the whole month of September, it wasn't reported till the following year. Raphael, all of those home games in September at Dodger Stadium in 2018, could have been 15 days, could have been 20 days of hosting games. Nobody knew in that row, in that seat, that somebody was struck and died. I think those people sitting in that seat or row would have appreciated learning a woman was taken to the hospital and then died a few days later. But that's what we do. We just trying to put things out there for everyone to learn and discover.
I think there can be a lot of pushback at first from some fans, and I guess in my experience of talking to other parents about this issue, you almost have to undo this programming and all that we've been fed by the MLB for years. Baseball is almost as old as America itself. Its place in our culture is very prominent. The marketing of family-friendly, wholesome apple pie is very prominent, and they've cultivated an air of romanticism around foul balls and cultivated this desire to catch one. So you have to undo all of that programming just to get through to some of the more diehard people, and what's more, a lot of these incidents don't really make the news. So, when a foul ball lands in the nachos, it goes viral, but when the barrel of the bat goes into the baby's head, it gets buried. And when there is a serious high profile incident, what you see is that usually there's a settlement that happens that comes with an NDA, and it prevents these victims and their families from speaking publicly about what happened to them. And so the information is just not readily available to people. You have to undo all the programming, but then on top of that, as frequently as these incidents occur and what we're seeing in all these self-reported injuries, they're just not making the major enough news to really get in people's minds how often it happens.
A lot of people, Raphael, who work in the media, their job is to cover the games. There is a lot of media that
Right.
are exposed to the same things that I know. They know too, but there's the old expression, nobody wants to bite the hand that feeds them. And unfortunately, I think these baseball writers have even been indoctrinated into silence about this issue. There's only been a few articles and few reports that I can say have said things. There's the ESPN 5-minute video from 2019, which I thought was a great way to get this discussion going and finally address solutions. But that only lasts so long. If ESPN is not going to run that 5-minute video over and over again, you may have 100,000 people or 700,000 people watching it. And even, I think it was around 4,000 people that made comments to it. But Raphael, those comments, 80% of them were silly. They were like knucklehead baseball fans. After seeing little kids getting hit by line drives and 80% of them brushing it off like it's no big deal, I can't take those audiences seriously. At least 20% of them, Raphael, kinda echoed the sentiments that I'm putting out there. So I do know that once people meet this issue, they're just gonna wanna take it on and finally come up with solutions and finally come up with ways to tell Brianna that you should be at the game and you should be here with your family. They cannot do that, Raphael, in good conscience, but they're continually marketing. We can just find probably the history of the marketing from every ballpark in professional baseball and find contradiction after contradiction after contradiction. That's a whole nother project. But yeah, we all are gonna wanna find out the history. And once people realize that there were sitting ducks at all of these places, I think they're gonna wanna know just how bad they are. There's mud on their face. Well, people are gonna wanna know just how much mud on their face is there. Well, let's figure it out. We could have one student at a time looking into every college, the team's history and marketing, like going to the library and doing research. We're going to find out just how much mud on their face there really is because they're doubling down, they're tripling down. Bring the kids, bring the kids, bring the kids. Where they were possessing information, Raphael, that maybe would imply you saying, don't bring the kids, don't bring the kids, don't bring the kids. But they didn't come out with that, did they? So I think they get a big fat F for their legacy and for their history. And I think as much as we want to know how much mud on their face there is, we just want to know how big and fat that F is. So that's where I'm at. I just want to keep going. I want to deal with the present day, Raphael, because that's the most important thing. I want business as usual to be totally transparent for 2026. I want everyone to know where they are when they come to the game, not when they get to the game, Raphael, because you're already there, it's too late. Even though there's a sign that tells you to be careful when you get there, Raphael. Even though there may be a sign on your cup holder, be careful of a foul ball. What does that mean, Raphael? We're already there. We're not superheroes. We're not action figures. People can discover everything we're sharing right now in this discussion at Foul Ball Safety Now. These discussions are very important and very helpful so people can finally adopt the cause, wrap their head around it, see what's happening locally in their ballparks, and talk about it. That's what we can hopefully do, Raphael. And these discussions and you being part of this is really terrific.
You're talking about more than their faces. Eventually, it's gonna add up to a point that they have to join the discussion because as I was diving into website and outside the website and there's attorneys worry about the issue already saying, oh, if you've been hit by a foul ball and all that stuff, don't hesitate to contact us. And then, once this guy get involved, it's gonna get to a point where they have to come down and join the discussion because these guys they're in it for profit. We know how these guys work, like the attorneys and lawyers. They in it for profit. So eventually, they're gonna have to join the round
It
table.
it it's interesting that you brought that up, Raphael. I didn't expect to go there now, but I will. Many of these attorneys that have up on their website information that if you're hit by a foul ball, you're assuming the risk. Those same lawyers, Raphael, if you call them, they're not gonna be able to help you because in most states, the baseball rule is recognized. And these attorneys who, yes, may put it on their website, and there are probably thousands of attorneys that do put it up on their website. But guess how many of them are going to handle a baseball case? Probably one or very few will ever get a case related to a baseball injury. Most people who've been hit by foul balls, when they seek attorneys, the attorneys aren't going to do 30, 40, 50 hours worth of work and then go to court and find out their case is not even being heard. Baseball knows this. Now, lawyers are just trying to look smart on their website, Raphael. How about that? It's not like they may have 10 or 50 slip and fall cases throughout their careers. But if any of them even get one case, I would be surprised because we are learning, Raphael, that when people do get injured by foul balls, if they're not in the right state and if everything doesn't line up, there's good chances they're not even going to get a lawyer. We've had law school students that have researched particular states. Like, for example, Tennessee, you may only see 10 cases filed over 100 years. If you Google lawyers in Tennessee, you're going to see 100 lawyers who advertised that whole thing about baseball, baseball, baseball. I think they're just trying to look smart, Raphael, for marketing. It makes it look
All
good,
right.
like they're concerning lawyers. So I just didn't mean to respond that way, but maybe you're a little surprised, but maybe a little more informed.
No, no, I didn't. I was not thinking. I thought they had something, but
Yeah,
hey,
there's one lawyer in Illinois. He's had a few cases, so he seems to be the guy in Illinois. If you get hurt, call him. But most of these lawyers, these thousands of lawyers that say something about the baseball rule on their website, they don't even want to get the call. They just want to. I think it makes them look smarter when somebody's looking for a lawyer and they see that stuff about the baseball rule. It makes you look like a more intelligent lawyer. So you'll call them as opposed to somebody else. A lot of lawyers put that baseball stuff on their website. And I think it's mostly for marketing so they can get business in other areas. It's my thoughts. But we could talk about that another time.
Raphael, maybe you could speak from your experience, being a security guard, but how difficult can it be to respond to an unexpected incident in a packed venue, such as a baseball stadium?
I find the question kind of vague. If you could just get more specific.
We can be very specific if you want. So, in a packed venue, such as a baseball stadium, right? Let's say there's a medical emergency, such as, a foul ball hitting someone or a bat flying over injuring someone. Typically all of the professional personnel in the area, the security guards, if there's any first aid, will go to respond. How difficult can it be to respond to an unexpected incident such as that when it's a packed venue, like a stadium?
The thing is, the possibility of getting injured is unexpected. It's unexpected, so unexpected. It's almost like a few years back, there was a reporter talking about a gentleman, in Israel who's been hit by a rocket. And the guy's talking about it. You're talking about like a huge complex, like the rocket did not hit a tree, did not hit another rock or the ground. It hit the guy right there. Huge complex. Well, this the stadium environment is just like that too. You just never know. You just never know, and that's exactly why it's hard to prepare for it because it's unexpected.
No, that's interesting. Interesting insights. Interesting insights. I think this was terrific. And I would really appreciate people going to Foul Ball Safety Now. These discussions will continue. We have thought provoking conversations because people are addressing this issue, maybe learning about foul ball safety for the first time a few days earlier, and then studying up on the website and really diving into this with us. So we really appreciate that. And thank you, everyone. And we hope to talk to you real soon in Foul Ball Safety Now Talks. And thank you to our guests, Raphael and Brianna, as usual. And we'll do it again soon. Thank you.